It's Snitchler versus Bosley, the battle of the gods.
Well, that was a pretty dramatic entrance, wasn't it? Battle of the Todds. We do have Todd Snitchler here and Todd Bosley here. They're running for the 50th. We just finished talking about House Bill 400, which has not been voted out of committee yet, right?
Correct.
But it still has a lot of educationally oriented funding in there. What's the future of that bill?
Well, in this General Assembly, that bill is dead. The committee chairman has said that he's not going to pass it, he's not going to vote on it. And so the bill sponsor, Representative John Adams, has said he's done with it, that we're just going to let it sit.
Are you glad about that, Todd Bosley?
Absolutely. And this is indicative of the bills that have been proposed by my opponent as we go along. I don't want to be rude to you, but a lot of this stuff has just died. There is no legislative accomplishment at all. I think people in the 50th District need to take note of that these ideas at best are probably mediocre, and with no sales pitch behind them, no way to actually make them become law, it's useless to the people of the 50th District.
Well, and I had an email from a text message from Joe Morris who asked if it were to be passed, what impact would it have on Stark County schools?
$250 million would be missing from funding to Stark County schools.
So is that a good reason not to support the bill, fellas?
It is for me.
I think that's a dramatic misstatement about what the outcome of any passage of House Bill 400 might be. And I think, again, it's important for us not to debate the what-ifs, but to debate what's already happened. And if we want to talk about school funding was cut in House Bill 1. And I would ask Mr. Bosley if he would have voted yes for House Bill 1, the first time school funding was cut, as a percentage of state funding since the DeRolf decision. Would you have supported that state funding cut as well as the $1 billion of fee in tax increases?
What I would have done is work to make some changes
the
to
answer
House
is, would
Bill
you,
1.
Would you have voted yes or no?
I doubt that I would have.
Okay, now that was a bill actually that was sponsored by the governor, correct?
Well, it's the state's budget bill, and the chairman of the Finance Committee, Representative Sykes, carries that bill. But it was the governor's budget, and it was
and both
the plan that he wanted. That's correct.
Democrats and Republicans passed it.
There were at least 2 Republican votes in the House, and I know there were obviously Republican votes in the Senate to do it. I disagreed strongly with that because I thought it kicks the can down the road. We're not solving problems. My opponent wants to talk about solving problems, then let's have an honest debate about the issues and work on solving them, and not say you're the party of no because you won't agree to $1 billion in new taxes. And I won't. It's as simple as that.
Okay. What do you say?
Well, if I may just add to that, and Mr. Snitchler, I'll add to that in my opinion, you have just voted no and not offered any real solutions. That's my opinion.
Okay, let's go to the phones. We've got Glenn. We're going to go first. Hi, Glenn. Glenn, are you there?
No.
Yes, you're on the air.
Okay. In the very beginning of the interview, I listened to Mr. Snitchler.
Okay, we're...
Glenn, I think you're...
Okay, Glenn, we'll get you an answer, okay?
Glenn, I think you're exactly right, and I think you misunderstood my throw it in the hopper comment. The way a bill works in Columbus is when you submit the bill and it goes to assigned to be to a committee, you lose control of it. And at that point, you're exactly right. And that's what we've done. I've got letters in front of me that I've sent to the governor, to the speaker, to the chairman of the Finance Committee, to the ranking member of the Finance Committee, and to the committee chairman saying, you haven't heard our bill. We ought to be discussing it. It ought to be up for amendment. It ought to be up for work. Let's get working on it instead of just moving it to the side, which is not my decision. That's the committee chairman and the speaker's decision. And so we have worked hard to do that. As you may not know, the Senate had a similar bill that passed 31-0, meaning every Democrat voted with every Republican in the Senate to pass a similar measure. And it came over to the House. And you know how many hearings there have been on that bill? 0. So that tells me there's a lack of political interest on the House side to deal with this issue. And so we have been working on it, but at the end of the day, I do not control the strings to be able to move that bill forward. But this General Assembly is not over. And if you think I'm not going to work on it between now and December 31st, you're mistaken. We will continue to work for it. Even if it doesn't pass, we're going to keep working on it. And if we're fortunate enough to be returned, we're going to reintroduce it.
Okay, that was Todd Snitchler. And we have 2 minutes before we got to take a break for the news at the bottom of the hour. So, Todd Bosley, you have an opportunity.
Ron, I would just say, as a county commissioner, wouldn't it be something if I said, geez, people just won't support this, and even though it's a terrible problem, what would we do? You can't take that approach in government. You have to be proactive. You have to make things happen. And if you have a problem with people in the Ohio House, you have to go to those people and work things out. That's what being a legislator is all about. Saying, I have an idea, I know you have an idea, let's sit down at the table and work this out. I may not agree with everything in the bill, but you know what? I can live with some of it. That has not been done in the 50th District. Not been done at all. I want to emphasize that. It's been a no vote. It's been an argument. When you take people of the opposite party and make enemies out of them, you're not going to get anywhere. And I'm very, very concerned for the 50th District. I'm concerned with the way, frankly, my opponent has conducted some of these negotiations, or the lack thereof of the negotiations. As I said earlier, hand in hand with the Speaker for the 50th District to work on projects that matter to the people. I believe that when you get to Columbus, if you're not careful, you can get what I call legislativitis. And I believe firmly that's probably where my opponent is right now, where you start to focus on bills or issues that don't matter to the common people anymore.
Okay, that's Todd Bosley, and we've got a minute before we take a break for the news. I'll remind you, you're listening to Points to Ponder. I'm Ron Ponder. We've got Todd Bosley and Todd Snitchler in the House. They're both running for the 50th representative slate. Todd Snitchler is the incumbent. He's a Republican. Todd Bosley is the Democrat. He's a challenger. He's also a current county commissioner.